People in Sudan are trapped in an inferno of brutal violence. That's how the UN's humanitarian coordinator for the country has described the situation there, as fighting continues between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Now, the violence is restricting the flow of humanitarian aid, and there are growing concerns about atrocities taking place. An open-source investigation from the non-profit Centre for Information Resilience says the RSF has been setting entire villages ablaze. And these satellite images show this area in the West Darfur city of El Geneina in April 2023. Compare that to its charred remains as seen in March this year. And from the same city, these warehouses visible in April 2023 had been removed entirely nearly a year later. Rights groups are warning that the RSF attacks amount to ethnic cleansing and genocide in West Darfur. Our next report contains images some viewers may find disturbing.
4-year-old Yasmin has struggled to walk since she was shot in the leg. She is from El Geneina in Sudan's West Darfur, but is growing up in a camp for displaced people across the border in Chad. Last year, as fighting neared their home, Yasmin fled with her family. But the rebel paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, caught up with them. A bullet tore through Yasmin's leg and hit her mother.
Her mother, who was 8 months pregnant, was killed, and Yasmin was left all alone. Some people found her on the road and brought her here. On the road to the border, we all suffered. The Rapid Support Forces killed and wounded so many people.
A recent Human Rights Watch report accuses the Rapid Support Forces and allied militias of carrying out attacks in West Darfur, killing thousands. The report says this indicates ethnic cleansing, war crimes and genocide. The paramilitary group has been at war with Sudan's army since April 2023. And Darfur is a front in the civil war. Dozens of people were killed in clashes and airstrikes in Al Fasher over the weekend. It's the last major city in Darfur still under the Sudanese army's control. The city is reportedly under siege and there is a communications blackout. The United Nations warns that fighting is endangering 800,000 civilians in Al Fasher and preventing aid from reaching the region, where millions of people are on the brink of famine.
That time is running out to prevent starvation in Darfur, as intensifying clashes in North Darfur's capital, Al Fasher, are hindering our efforts to deliver vital food assistance into the region.
The UN has called the situation in Sudan one of the worst humanitarian disasters in recent memory. Aid groups fear that the violence in Darfur could lead to another massacre and force millions more people to flee for their lives.
Let's speak now to Mutasim Ali, legal advisor at the Raoul Wallenberg Centre for Human Rights. Mutasim is also from Darfur and survived the genocide there 2 decades ago. He joins us now from Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us on the programme, Mutasim. Now, are you able to get a sense of the current situation in your hometown, El Fasher?
Thanks very much for the opportunity, and I think the situation in El Fasher is really catastrophic. We have been sounding the alarm since last year that when the RSF already started besieging the city from all the parts, from northern part of the city, from the southern part of the city, and from the eastern part of the city. And so now it is actually really the RSF and, of course, the Sudanese armed forces and other armed groups aligning with the Sudanese armed forces are really in a serious fight in El Fasher. There are already hundreds of people have been injured and killed in Al-Fasher in the last 2 days. And therefore, the situation is really catastrophic, and it requires an immediate attention from the international community.
Right. With the restrictions on access, how do you gather that information and, in your case, evidence for your reports?
Well, I mean, for our report, we relied heavily on open source information that has already been gathered by other investigative journalists and other organizations. But with respect to the ongoing conflict, I think despite the blackout, the internet blackout, I think there is still a bit of communication between, we can reach out to some of the residents of Al-Fasher. So they continue to report in terms of the incidents and how many people are being killed and attacked and the like. And so basically, we're able to access a bit of information, but really we cannot get into really what is happening at this moment in time.
Right. And do you see any similarities between what's going on now and what you fled back in 2003?
Well, absolutely, yes. I mean, as we indicated clearly in our report, most of the atrocities that we see today committed by the rapid support forces. This is a new brand of the early Janjaweed, right? And so basically the crimes are committed by the same perpetrators and I guess same victims groups. We have the Masalit in West Darfur, we have Fur and Zagao and other parts of Darfur. And so we really see exact same pattern again of crimes and the way the RSF sort of, besieged the city, the way the crimes that were perpetrated using rape as a weapon of war, creating conditions calculated to bring about really the destruction of, the protected groups here. We're speaking of Fur, Zagawa, Masalit particularly.
Right. Now, the numbers from the war in Sudan are staggering. 14,000 people killed, at least, 8 million displaced, 25 million needing urgent aid. How would you describe the way the rest of the world has responded to this?
Yeah, I mean, I said it before, and I think the way the international community, and of course, the African states, the African Union, right, respond to the atrocities in Darfur is really disgraceful. There is no other way to describe this, right? We see people being slaughtered. We know the perpetrators. We know the enablers, right? Countries. Some of them are actually even African states, and yet there is nothing from the side of the international community to hold perpetrators to account. The simplest thing to do is to cut off perpetrators from the financial flow that allows for atrocities to continue. And yet we do not see anything from the international community that is done so far to prevent this, this conflict. I think this is a preventable genocide. This is not only my words, but by, the words of other experts, including former UN officials, right? This is a preventable genocide. Even the early genocide of 2000s was preventable. And yet again, we, I'm speaking of the international community, deliberately refuse to respond to this. And so I think it is really not an ignored genocide. It is an abundant genocide.
Okay. Mutasim Ali from the Raoul Wallenberg Centre for Human Rights. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.